Moving on now, Qatar has halted liquefied natural gas production after its facilities came under attack amid the escalating conflict in West Asia, disrupting supplies to India and squeezing gas availability for key domestic sectors. Now, India relies on long-term LNG contracts with Qatar for nearly 40% of its imports, and the disruption has already forced supply cuts of up to 40% for several industrial users and city gas distribution companies. Now, the crisis has been compounded by the near shutdown of shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, a crucial energy corridor through which a large share of global oil and LNG shipments pass. Now, India's largest LNG importer, Petronet LNG, said it has been unable to send tankers to Qatar and has invoked force majeure, citing security risks to maritime navigation. Now, Qatar Energy has also declared force majeure after drone attacks targeted facilities at Ras Laffan, the world's largest LNG export hub. Now, city gas companies warn that if the situation persists, costlier gas could erode the price advantage of CNG, likely pushing consumers towards electric vehicles or alternate fuels. Now, meanwhile, Indian energy companies are exploring the spot market to bridge the supply gap, even as policymakers monitor the situation amid concerns over higher costs for industries, fertilizer production, and household gas supplies. Meanwhile, Russia has offered to divert oil supplies to India to help offset disruption caused by the ongoing West Asia conflict. According to reports, around 9.5 million barrels of Russian crude are already on vessels near Indian waters and could arrive within weeks, providing quick relief to Indian refiners facing supply uncertainty. Now, India remains vulnerable to supply shocks, with crude reserves covering only about 25 days of demand, while inventories of key fuels such as diesel, petrol and LPG also being limited. Now, the crisis has intensified after shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most critical energy routes, was severely disrupted following Iranian attacks on vessels after US and Israeli strikes on Iran. Remember, India had reduced Russian crude imports earlier this year amid trade discussions with the United States. But Moscow's share of India's oil basket has climbed back to around 30% in the month of February. Refiners are now in close contact with traders selling Russian crude, although any significant increase in purchases will depend on guidance from the Indian government. Meanwhile, Russia has sharply condemned the U.S. campaign against Iran as cynical and inhumane. Moscow has accused Washington of fabricating a threat from Iran to justify its military campaign. Russia, which has a strategic partnership treaty with Tehran, also condemned the killing of Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei during the first day of the U.S.-Israeli strikes. Listen in.
There is no doubt that the so-called Iranian threat, which has been repeatedly described for many years, was merely a pretext for carrying out a long-planned scheme to forcibly overthrow the constitutional, I stress, government of a sovereign state, deemed undesirable by Washington and Tel Aviv, a state that is, I repeat, a member of the United Nations. And the renewed negotiating process served as a cover operation.